A nursing student crashes her car on a dark New Hampshire road. A witness calls 911. 7 minutes later, police arrive. The car is locked, the airbags deployed, and Maura Murray has vanished into the February night. 20 years later, her family still waits by the phone, and what investigators discovered about her final days makes her disappearance even more disturbing. Let's get right into this explainer on the Maura Murray mystery.
7. I really want to hook you right off the bat with the most staggering fact of this entire case. It took just 7 minutes between a witness speaking to Maura at the site of her crash and the police arriving to find her completely, inexplicably gone. Just 7 minutes to vanish without a single trace. It's wild.
And that leads us straight to the central question framing this whole explainer. Where did Maura Murray go? I mean, for 2 full decades, investigators, internet sleuths, and, of course, her heartbroken family have been desperately waiting for the answer to this exact question. Did she run? Was she taken? Well, to figure that out, we really have to look at the facts.
So let's dive into part 1, that crucial 7-minute window.
Okay, we need to go back to the night of February 9th, 2004. This is on Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire. It's a winding, rural road that locals know is extremely dangerous in the winter. Now let's methodically walk through this timeline together because it is so incredibly tight. At 7:27 p.m., a woman named Faith Westman hears the unmistakable sound of a crash. She looks out her window, sees a black sedan up against a snowbank, and she calls 911. She tells the dispatcher there's a young woman moving around the car, looking pretty disoriented. Shortly after that, a local bus driver named Butch Atwood stops. He asks the woman if she needs help. Now she tells him she already called AAA, but Butch knows there is 0 cell reception out there. He later says she seems shook up but not injured. She insists she's fine, but Butch is worried, so he drives just 100 feet down the road to his house, and at 7:43 p.m., his wife calls 911 again. Finally, at 7:46 p.m., Sergeant Cecil Smith arrives. Guys, that is just 9 minutes after the very first call and only 7 minutes after Butch spoke to her.
And when Sergeant Smith stepped out of his cruiser, this is what he found. The car was empty, it was locked, and the keys were nowhere to be found. Just take a second to let that chilling reality sink in. Literally, in the span of a TV commercial break, a human being evaporated from a crash scene.
But to really understand this, we need to ask, who was Maura?
Because to even begin to understand what happened at that crash, we have to look at the 48 hours prior. And this brilliantly illustrates how 2 completely different versions of Maura emerged. The Maura her family knew, she was a 21-year-old nursing student at UMass Amherst. Honestly, the definition of success. High school track star, Dean's List student, the kind of daughter who called her dad 3 times a week. But in her final 48 hours, Maura did things totally out of character. She sent fake emails to her professors claiming there was a death in her family. There wasn't. She withdrew almost all her money from the ATM, about $280 in cash. She searched for directions to Burlington, Vermont and the White Mountains. She basically packed up all the belongings in her dorm room, and then she drove north, completely alone, without telling a single soul. But perhaps the most disturbing detail happened on the Thursday right before she vanished. Campus security found Maura in the early morning hours, sitting in her dorm hallway entirely unresponsive, completely catatonic. She had been crying at work, acting super distant with her friends. Something was deeply, deeply wrong, and she was clearly carrying a really heavy burden.
Which brings us to the trail of clues she left behind in that car.
When police finally searched her abandoned 1996 Saturn sedan, the evidence they found honestly raised way more questions than it answered. We already mentioned those fake emails, but inside the car, police also found enough alcohol for a weekend party. We're talking boxed wine, vodka, Kahlua, Bailey's. They found a Coke bottle that smelled strongly of alcohol, which suggests she might have actually been drinking while driving. And when they checked her computer, they found searches for how to disappear. What's absolutely baffling about all of this is that just 2 days prior, she had gone car shopping with her dad. They grabbed dinner and she seemed totally normal. And then suddenly she's printing out directions and fleeing.
Now what's truly haunting is the geography of it all. Maura had printed out directions to the Berkshires, but the crash? That happened on Route 112 in New Hampshire. That's a completely different area. She wasn't supposed to be on that road at all. Something made her change her course and turn down that dark, rural route. And 20 years later, we still don't know what it was.
The physical evidence at the scene is just as baffling. Step 1. Footprints in the snow led about 100 feet away from the damaged car. Step 2. When search dogs were finally brought in, they successfully tracked Maura's scent down the road. But step 3 is where your blood just runs cold. The scent trail stopped abruptly, right in the middle of the road. It didn't wander off into the woods. It just ended, exactly as if she had gotten into another vehicle.
With physical evidence looking like that, we have to talk about persons of interest.
So, as the physical evidence dried up, investigators naturally turned their attention to the people who might have been involved. First off, multiple witnesses reported an unidentified man standing outside a nearby A-frame house. He was smoking and watching the road, but the homeowner claimed he wasn't even home that night. Then, years later, a man claimed he gave a frantic young woman a ride from that exact area, dropping her off at a specific location. Though, to be fair, this could easily be a false confession. Then there was her boyfriend, Billy Rausch. The relationship was rocky, and phone records showed them arguing, but he does have a confirmed military alibi in Oklahoma. Finally, Rodney Stanger. He was a local handyman known to troll rural roads, and he had a violent history against women. Yet, despite all this massive suspicion, there remains zero concrete evidence connecting any of these men directly to Maura.
So, what does this all mean? Let's look at the three main theories.
The crucial point here is, trying to make sense of all this totally contradictory evidence has basically led investigators to three prevailing theories over the last 2 decades. Let's break them down. First up, voluntary disappearance. The supporting evidence for this is actually really strong. She packed her dorm, she literally searched how to vanish. The fatal flaw, though, in 20 years, there has been absolutely no digital, financial, or physical footprint. I mean, can someone really stay hidden for 2 decades? Second theory, she succumbed to the elements. Maybe she fled into the freezing woods just to avoid a DUI, but despite massive coordinated searches with dogs and helicopters, no remains or clothing have ever been found. And third, foul play. Her scent ended abruptly right in the road, heavily suggesting she was picked up. However, even when the FBI expanded their investigation back in 2019 using ground-penetrating radar, they found absolutely nothing.
So, why is this still an unsolved mystery? Seriously, why after 20 years of searching are we still totally in the dark? Well, the frustrating truth is that early missteps compromised this investigation right from the very beginning. Detail by detail, the initial response kind of failed Maura. The responding officer, Sergeant Smith, he treated it as a simple DUI walkaway. And because of this, there was no immediate massive search operation, and the crime scene itself just wasn't properly preserved. To make matters even worse, the car was towed and actually released to the family before it could be fully processed for evidence. And we really have to remember the era we're talking about here. This was 2004. There were no smartphones pinging towers, no Ring doorbells on the houses, no dash cams to capture who drove down that dark road. The digital footprint simply doesn't exist.
Furthermore, the terrain itself is just a massive hurdle. 800,000. That is the number of acres comprising the dense, rugged White Mountain National Forest surrounding that crash site. To put that into perspective for you, if Maura did go into those woods, finding her across 800,000 acres of dense wilderness is statistically almost impossible. It's like finding a needle in 1,000 haystacks.
It is so easy to get totally lost in the clues and the wild internet theories, but we have to bring this back to the human element. Maura Murray was just 21 when she vanished. She would be 41 years old today. Her sister Julie has literally dedicated her entire life to keeping Maura's name out there, fighting for answers every single day. And remember, people who witnessed things that night, they are still alive today. This case is not closed.
Which leaves us with this final, haunting thought. Was Maura running from something in her life, or did someone make that choice for her? The truth is out there, somewhere, on that dark New Hampshire road. What do you think happened to Maura Murray? Let us know your theories down in the comments. And please, if you have any information at all, contact the New Hampshire State Police Cold Case Unit. Every missing person deserves to be found. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and as always, keep questioning everything.